I want to ask you this, Daniel Solana, and I mean this with no disrespect or craziness. Is this the biggest game in Inter Miami's history?
First of all, gentlemen, how's it going? Happy Saturday to everybody. Just like you said, big sports weekend here in South Florida. Like you said, the Canes versus Notre Dame. And then Inter Miami, like you said, at 8 o'clock tomorrow, playing in their second final in 3 years. I know you said it could be the biggest game of all time, but I don't see it that way, gentlemen. I think, yes, it's a final, and every final is massive. But let's not forget, Miami already lifted the Leagues Cup a couple of years ago. They've been here before. They've done it. So for me, the bigger games were those Club World Cup matches that Miami was stepping onto a global stage, representing the league, representing MLS, and testing themselves against some of the best in the world. And to me, that carries a different kind of weight, a different kind of history. So yes, this final matters. It's another chance at silverware. But for me, the Club World Cup games, those felt bigger. Those felt like Miami was writing its name in world football, not just regional football like this Leagues Cup is about.
Seattle Sounders has been one of the best teams in MLS history. Let's keep it up. They've been consistent. They've had one of the best teams in MLS. I want to say since its inception. What makes you believe this Inter Miami team, and they have a great team this year as well, because they were also a team that made the Club World Cup. What makes you think this Inter Miami team, can go to Seattle on the road and defeat the Seattle Sounders?
Well, let's set the stage, right? They're expecting close to 65,000 people at Seattle Stadium. Yeah, Lumen Field. So they're expecting, a full sellout in the field, and we all know that Seattle Stadium, Lumen Field, is one of those stadiums that it gets extremely loud. Other than Arrowhead Stadium, it's probably the loudest stadium in North America. So I expect a raucous crowd tomorrow afternoon. But on paper, Miami comes in strong, right? They're going to have probably their full roster available. Seattle's dealing with the loss of 3 or 4 players, key players. And at this stage, that's a massive difference in depth. When you look at Miami coming in with their full squad, basically almost at 100% healthy. And then you have Seattle, who's missing some of their best players. Nuhu got a red card in the semifinal for a very dirty play. And they're missing Musovski, who is their number 9, who also got a red card in the quarterfinals. And I don't know if you guys saw that, but he chest bumped the referee, and he got a few games. So they're going to be missing a lot of people. But let me give you guys what the real headline is, because the real headline is Seattle's coach, Brian Schmetzer, poking at Luis Suarez, saying he won't be able to run past their defenders. And that's the last thing that you want to do. We've all seen this story before. Give Suarez bulletin board material, and he turns it into a masterclass. And so Miami, for me, has the edge. And if history is any indication, Suarez is going to be ready to make them pay.
So if I want to piggyback off the squad, what I asked you is okay, the big name players are with Inter Miami, but I could say the well-rounded team is probably Seattle.
Absolutely. But remember, like I said, they're missing 3 or 4 key players. And when you're going into a final, especially the way that Seattle plays, Seattle likes to play a very high press. They like to play open. They like to play very aggressive. And when you're missing 2, 3, 4 key players, obviously that's going to hurt your roster depth. And so that's why I think Miami on paper should win this game. They should win this game comfortably. But remember, any final is not a comfortable game, because I think it will be comfortable. But I just think it's going to be a tough game, number 1, because they're playing away. Number 2, they're playing on turf, which we know that these guys are not used to playing on turf. So that's going to make a big difference. The ball bounces a bit differently on turf than it does on grass. So there's going to be some big ifs in the game. But I think Inter Miami has what it takes to win this game, win it comfortably, maybe 3-1, 4-1. So I think they'll be lifting this trophy in about 30, 35 hours from now.
You got to figure, what Seattle Sounders are doing. First of all, they're talking trash. That's always a bad idea. Don't poke the bear. We've got those guys on Inter Miami. Number 2, they're kind of relying on the crowd to be kind of crazy and the stage to be kind of big. We've got Messi. We've got Suarez. We've got DePaul. We've got Alba. We've got Busquets. They've been in bigger stages. They're not going to shy away from Lumen Field and the Legion of Boom, although they do have great fans in Seattle, by the way. I just don't feel as though the stage is too big for Messi and the crew.
No, definitely not. I mean, you said it right then. They've played in World Cup finals, in Copa America finals, in Euro League finals, in UEFA Champions League finals. These guys have played on the biggest stages that the world has to offer. So I don't think that for those 5 players, this is going to phase them. But you also have other players. For example, Ian Frey is going to be playing in his first final because if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe he was available when Inter Miami beat Nashville for the Leagues Cup a couple of years ago. So he's going to be playing in his first final. You have Gonzalo Lujan, who's been playing a little bit better in the back line. He'll be playing in his first final in Inter Miami Pink. So you have a bunch of players who are going to be playing in possibly their first final who are going into a raucous crowd for maybe the first or second time ever in their playing career. So it's I'm not really looking at the big 5. I'm really looking at the rest of the team and can they, help out the big 5 and can they help out the team to win?
Well, you have to figure those big 5 hopefully can lead the way. Want to get a breakdown on our favorite new player, at least for Vlad and I, on Inter Miami. His name is Baltazar Rodriguez.
I love that name, bro.
I love a little bit about Baltazar.
I really like that name. That name means something, man. That name means prestige. I just love that name, Baltazar.
I love it too, and I love the signing when they made the signing. Back when they brought him in towards the beginning of the season. Unfortunately, he's been hurt for most of the season, and that's really hurt him and his chances to get on the field. Now we've seen him, been recuperated now over the last couple of weeks. He got a start against DC United, scored an absolute banger in that game, and then came back in the Clásico on Wednesday against Orlando City and had himself what I thought was a fantastic first half, attacking, beating guys one-on-one, finding combination play with Messi, with Alba, with Suarez. And look, I think he has everything in his power to be the starting left wing tomorrow night because he's been on a roll. And like you said, he's a special talent. Unfortunately, he's just been very injury plagued, and that's hurt him this season. Now, we do have another wonderkind that Inter Miami signed a couple of weeks ago, and that's Matteo Silvetti, who was signed from Newell's in Argentina. He's coming over also from an injury. We're waiting on him to get his visa so that he could be cleared to go ahead and practice with the team. I expect him sometime in the middle of September to be ready, but this is another young winger, a 19-year-old winger coming from Argentina who can play on the right wing, who can play center forward, and there's a lot of hope and a lot of promise coming with this young kid as well.
Lionel Messi was absolutely fantastic in the Clásico or Derby, however you want to call it, against Orlando City, scoring some goals, getting some assists. Lately, he's been great. How much longer can we expect Messi to play at this level in MLS? Because right now he has just been gangbusters. How much longer, though, do you think he can hold this type of play?
Look, I mean, he's 38 years old right now, and if you've looked at the stats, I think he's the third most goal contributions of any player in 2025. Let that sit in. I know he's playing in MLS, but he's third on the list globally in goal contributions for a player who's 38 years old. He's leading the MLS in goals. He's just been on an absolute tear lately. I think he has another one and a half, maybe 2 good years in him to play at this same level in MLS. I expect him to re-sign for 2026, possibly 2027. But look, he's going to be playing at this level. And at this point, it's more important to surround him with good talent so that he can continue to play at this level, because that's what we've seen Inter Miami do. And they'll continue to do that as long as he stays, in the pink and black.
And the reason I asked that is because I drove by that palace that they are building, Freedom Park, over there by the Miami airport yesterday. Vlad, have you seen it? I know, Daniel, you probably seen it. That thing is beautiful.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, my goodness. Daniel Solana, it's a world-class facility, correct? But after all is said and done.
100% world-class facility. It will have the biggest canopy in North American sports, or I believe in the soccer-specific stadium for the United States. So it's going to be an absolute beautiful stadium, though. I do have some news about Miami Freedom Park. A lot of people are hoping that it's going to open at the beginning of May or at the beginning of 2026. I have heard from inside sources that the place will not be ready to have games played until May 2026. So Inter Miami will be forced to play away outside of their stadium for the first couple months of the season and possibly a CONCACAF Champions Cup. So that's the inside sources that I've heard. Miami Freedom Park, unfortunately, like Dan said, a world-class facility will not be ready until May 2026.
Damn. That's tough.
I know, right? It's tough, right? It's tough.
And
you have a lot of expectations coming into this stadium, right, and it's just going to be ready.
And if it's not ready, that means a lot of, like you said, a lot of games are going to be on the road. Like they're going to have a lot of early games on the road, which means a lot of home games later on in the season. I need you to remark on Messi saying he played with fear on Wednesday night.
Look, I understand. Yeah, I understand why he played with fear, right? You're coming off of a hamstring injury or some sort of injury that's been bothering him. He trained during the week on Monday and Tuesday, was able to train fine. But I understand he was a little bit timid, and you could see it in the first half. He just wasn't there 100%. In the second half, I think he felt a lot more comfortable, got into the game, and really, that's where he exploded. Inter Miami gets the penalty call finally. It's their third penalty call, and if I'm not mistaken, in the last 2 years in all competitions. So for those people who cry that it's all rigged, maybe they should watch another sport, because on the field, it was obvious who runs Florida. Honestly, it was everything that you would expect from a Clásico. There was hard tackles, there was tension, there was nerves. But at the end of the day, it was Messi who scored the game-tying goal, scored the game-winning goal, and then played or had an effect on the third goal that Velasco Segovia scored, starting the play. And look, he's a special talent, guys. He's unbelievable. Even when he's not 100%, he's still 150%.
You gotta love when your coach is managing from the sidelines in the stands, even though he was not allowed in the locker room.
Might help,
but he had an earpiece. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they show you with an earpiece, and I'm seeing this. I'm like, he's absolutely communicating with his staff right now. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
100%. But Vlad, it happens. It happens all over the world. It happens all over the world.
And don't tell me he's suspended and have him there. Like, tell me he's in a suite. Don't have him in the stands just with the earpiece. Like,
but he's allowed. The Leagues Cup said they were the ones that put him in the suite, and they said that he could have communications. Now, I guess he didn't have his cell phone, and that was a big deal in the first game, that he was talking to his, at first he said he wasn't talking to his assistant. He was talking to the video coordinator, but we all know he was talking to his assistant, which I think is fine. Look, he wasn't on the sidelines. The rules state that he has to be in a designated area. That's where he was. It happens all over the world. The only place that people complain about is here in the United States.
Right. Because we don't listen. We know cheating going on. We just don't want the cheating to be blatant in front of our eyes.
But that's not cheating. How is that any different than me sitting on the sidelines and Mascherano telling me, "Hey, Daniel, tell Javier Morales this, and this," and I can tell him. How's that any different? He's just getting rid of the middleman. He's just got the earpiece in, and he's just talking to him directly. I don't see the problem.
I just don't like the optic. That's all. It's the optics. It's the optics. It's not the wrong. Anything's wrong. It's just the optics. It's just like, oh no, they're doing something wrong. Yeah, they all do it, but you don't see it. We could hearing about it and seeing it is two different things. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you're seeing it, it's like, man, when is he suspended? If you're a French fan or you're just a fan coming to the game, you're going to ask the question why. But like you said, this happens all the time. But optically, for me, it was just like, not too much on him. Not too much on him.
I mean, I was happy about it because I got a lot of attention on social media about it. So I'm not going to complain.
As long as we get the hits, baby. As long as we get the hits that's what we get for Dice Eldani. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we get that. Oh, follow him at. There it is, right
Dice
there.
Eldani. There you go.
I said Dice. Dice Eldani. Just follow him there, and then you give him all the hits so that he can talk about all these things that's going on with Inter Miami. And Sunday night, 8 p.m. Unfortunately, they have to go against they're going against the Notre Dame Miami game. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
I'll tell you this, fellas. I will give you a sneak peek into what tomorrow is going to be. 8 p.m., actually a little bit earlier, I'll be doing a live watch along for the Inter Miami and Seattle game on my YouTube channel on Dice El Dani. So go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel. We will have a live watch along. For those of you that don't like to listen to the English or Spanish commentators, I'll have a guest on. We will be talking about the game. We will be doing something a little bit different than what you're used to. So if you want to get something different in terms of soccer content, in terms of football content, definitely follow along, watch the live stream with us, and we're going to have a little fun. We did one for the semifinals against Orlando. We had over a couple thousand people watching us, which was unbelievable. So we hope that that folks will join and enjoy a different side of watching a soccer game.
Nice. A little watch along. Dice El Dani is the YouTube page to go to around 8 o'clock tomorrow night. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. I want to talk to you about this, Daniel Solana. I love Leagues Cup, and I also hate it at the same time. I like the fact that it pins United States versus Mexico. The only problem is there's some arguments to be made that it's not exactly a fair tournament. It's MLS's party, so all the games are played here in the United States. It's MLS's party. There has never been a Mexican team in the final of Leagues Cup all 3 years. All Final Four teams this year were MLS teams. So they got a lot of things to come to. Is there ever going to be a day where it's going to be a little more fair for MLS and especially Liga MX?
Yeah, can they play some games in Mexico?
And another thing is, are you ready to say that MLS is a superior league to Liga MX?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Liga MX is still superior to MLS. Their rules allow for them to be, superior. Unfortunately for them, the Leagues Cup hurts them because they have to play a lot of these games away. And even when they're technically home, they're still playing in one of the MLS stadiums. Now, I'm glad you asked about that. And if you follow me on social media, you would have seen that I tweeted about this a couple of days ago. Sources have told me that in 2026, the Leagues Cup will be played in Mexico, starting in the quarterfinal phase. If a Mexican team is the higher seed, they will host. That's what I've been told. I'm excited for that. We're going to get to see some of these MLS teams go over to Mexico. Now, unfortunately for them, fortunately for them, they better not drink any of the water, and they should take their own chefs over to Mexico so that they don't have any excuses when the Mexican teams beat them 3 or 4-0. So look, I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a lot more fun because I think what the leagues did this year in terms of the format was fantastic. It made the games in the first round a lot more open. You didn't get to see some same matchups like MLS matchups that we've already seen 2 and 3 times this season. Everybody played. Liga MX played an MLS team in every single one of the rounds, which I think was fantastic. And then the top 4 teams qualify. Now, I wish it would be a little bit more, maybe the top 6 or the top 8, so you get a little bit more teams into the knockout stage. But I think overall, the fact that they're going to move some games over to Mexico is really going to help some of these Mexican teams in getting later into the stage of the tournament.
Another question on that. Will they ever decide to do how Europe does, especially like how Champions League, where you play both 2 games? You play one at home and you play one on the road. Will they ever get to that level? Because, I think it'll be more interesting if, you play a game in the United States and then you got to go play the second leg in Mexico. I think that would draw a lot of interest from both sides because everybody's getting a chance to, showcase their team, have a home game, and then travel on the road. I think that would generate more business to me for the MLS than what they currently have right now. So would they ever plan on doing that?
I think it's a good question. I just don't think that they would ever do it because it would be redundant to the CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? They already do that. They play a home and home in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And this is a special tournament where, they want it to take place within 1 month. They don't want it to take place with, over a number of months, which is how Champions League takes place. So I think at the end of the day, it'll just be a one elimination. But again, changing it to have some of these teams play in Mexico, I think is going to be better for MLS as well, because they're going to get the exposure to play in Mexico, and that'll help them in CONCACAF Champions Cup, which to me is the number 1 tournament in CONCACAF that Inter Miami and all MLS teams should strive to win every single year.
And let's remember that some people call it dirty. Some people say taking advantage of your environment. Some of the teams across the world, not so much here in the United States, they take super advantage of their climate, like Pachuca, where you play on top of a mountain. Didn't Peru, their national team, move their stadium to the tip top of the highest mountain? Teams really, especially in Central and South America, a little more in Europe, but they really, really sometimes, like I say, some people call it dirty. Some people say taking advantage, but you got to admit, Danny, sometimes there are some very peculiar stadium and situations.
No doubt. I mean, like you said, you mentioned El Alto in Bolivia. That's where Bolivia plays. It's called El Alto. It's literally the closest stadium or the highest stadium closest to the sky in the entire world. It's something like 15,000 meters or 15,000 feet above sea level. It's crazy. The players can't even breathe. But look, at the end of the day, you have to use whatever advantage you can as long as it's fair. And it's an even playing field. And FIFA allows it, CONCACAF allows it, and so you need to take advantage. Yeah, it's going to be tough for some of the MLS teams to go to Mexico because a lot of those teams play in the altitude. When you go play in El Estadio Azteca in Ciudad de Mexico, that's in the altitude. So now it's not like playing in 10,000 feet above sea level, but still it makes a big difference. Now I think that's why you see the Colorado team who plays in Denver. I think when teams go play in Denver, they have a tough time playing against them, and I think they have a home field advantage there that nobody else in MLS has. Now Inter Miami has the advantage that they play at 175-degree weather every single weekend, where teams come in here and you can barely go out into the field. You can barely breathe with how hot it is. So that's an advantage to it as well, and they get to train in that. So every team has their own advantage. It just depends on where you're located on the globe, right?